With its distinctive shape that follows the aesthetic of the Hudson River, the new 752,000 square foot patient pavilion adds an 8-level addition to the existing medical center. It features 264 private patient rooms, 13 surgical suites, an intensive care unit with 30 private rooms, a new emergency department and trauma center with 66 exam rooms, and a helicopter landing pad on the roof. The first floor opens to the grand concourse and main lobby, where people can access areas such as the cafeteria, meditation room, conference center, and our administrative offices. Corridors connect to the Legacy Hospital on the first and second floors, and there is a distinct entrance for the Emergency and Trauma Center and a main entrance for all other services.
Greg.
Join the meeting.
With its distinctive shape that follows the aesthetic of the Hudson River, the new 752,000 square foot patient pavilion adds an 8-level addition to the existing medical center. It features 264 private patient rooms, 13 surgical suites, an intensive care unit with 30 private rooms, a new emergency department and trauma center with 66 exam rooms, and a helicopter landing pad on the roof. The first floor opens to the grand concourse and main lobby, where people can access areas such as the cafeteria, meditation room, conference center, and our administrative offices. Corridors connect to the Legacy Hospital on the first and second floors, and there is a distinct entrance for the Emergency and Trauma Center and a main entrance for all other services. With its distinctive shape that follows the aesthetic of the Hudson River, the new 752,000 square foot patient pavilion adds an 8-level addition to the existing medical center. It features 264 private patient rooms, 13 surgical suites, an intensive care unit with 30 private rooms, a new emergency department and trauma center with 66 exam rooms, and a helicopter landing pad on the roof. The first floor opens to the grand concourse and main lobby, where people can access areas such as the cafeteria, meditation room, conference center, and our administrative offices. Corridors connect to the Legacy Hospital on the first and second floors, and there is a distinct entrance for the Emergency and Trauma Center and a main entrance for all other services.
Greg.
Join the meeting.
Good morning, everyone. We're just going to give about 1 more minute for additional folks to come in.
What am I doing?
Greetings, everyone. Wonderful to see so many people. Just as we get started and before Brian welcomes everyone, just a note, I'm going to mute everyone. So no worries. If you do need to say something, we are going to have a question and answer period at the end after 1 o'clock. I hope folks got that notice, and so we will enjoy hearing from you then. But wanted to say welcome. I'm going to turn it over to Brian Doyle.
Thank you, Whitney. And
Brian.
I think you got muted when everyone else did.
What I said earlier is thank you, Whitney, to you and your team for organizing what I hope will be a jam-packed and informative 1-hour report to the community. So I will start. I also want to welcome everybody, and in particular, welcome our partners in government, Matthew Martini with the New York State Comptroller's Office, Marcus Molinaro, Dutchess County Executive, Rebecca Edwards from the Dutchess County Legislature, Chief Deputy Jason Marks from the Dutchess County Sheriff's Office, the Honorable Tracy McKenzie and the Honorable Denise Watson, Dutchess County Family Court Judges. Jacqueline Greenwald is here on behalf of Rob Rollison, the mayor of the city of Poughkeepsie. Yvonne Flowers and Sarah Salem are here representing the city of Poughkeepsie Common Council. We have Gary Bassett, mayor of the village of Rhinebeck, and Loretta Brunello, the town of Wappinger's assessor. I also am thanking from the bottom of my heart our funding partners, Andrea Reynolds and Cecilia Stansell from the Dyson Foundation, Sally Cross from the Community Foundations of the Hudson Valley, and Jeannie Montano, and Melissa Clark
Join the meeting.
from United Way. We have a number of board members in attendance as well, and I say thank you and welcome to all of you. Well, we miss seeing everybody around the lunch table for sure, but we're thankful that almost 150 people have signed up for our first virtual report to the community. As it has been for many in our community, 2020 was a challenging year to say the least, but I found inspiration every day throughout the year. First, by the way in which our whole agency quickly pivoted to meet the needs of our community in very different but meaningful ways when our world came to a halt in March. And then also inspired by the many ways in which our family services employees found innovative and creative ways to engage clients. And last but not least by all means, the resilience that our clients showed in the face of so many challenges many of us have never faced before. Throughout it all, we never lost our vision of a Hudson Valley where everyone has the opportunity to lead their best lives, even in a pandemic. Before I share the many accomplishments of family services in 2020, I first want to take the opportunity to introduce our new board chair, Freddie Garcia. Freddie serves as Regional Director for Diversity, Inclusion, and Community Engagement at the Westchester Medical Center, where he's responsible for providing leadership, innovation, and vision to promote diversity and inclusion among all constituents of the hospital. Freddie's been with us since 2013 as a member of the board of directors, and I couldn't be more thrilled to see Freddie take on this new leadership role of the board of directors. Freddie?
Brian, thank you for that introduction. Appreciate it. Good afternoon, everyone. As mentioned, my name is Freddie Garcia, and I have the honor to serve as the chair of Family Services Board. And I welcome you to this year's report to the community. It is wonderful to see a lot of familiar faces, folks I haven't seen in a long time. So hello. Since 1879, we have been consistent and devoted to our mission in bringing people together, improving lives, and building stronger and safer communities. And despite COVID, we doubled down on that goal of completing our mission. And as difficult as a year we at Family Services rallied together to show our love, compassion, and dedication to the work that we do. Some had to adjust to remote work while managing life-threatening situations. Others had to engage socially distanced because lives were at stake. And others adjusted to the needs necessary for the success of the organization. And to that, I want to take this moment to give a special thanks to Brian and the entire amazing and courageous staff here at Family Services for continuing to put in that work, bringing the community together and providing the services that people need. I also like to thank our past chair, Maria, and our board members for pivoting during a time of true change and challenge. And then lastly, thanks to all of you, because without your support and your belief in the work that we do, none of this is possible. So really, from the bottom of our hearts, thank you. I'd also like to give special thanks to Nuvance Health, our leadership sponsor, and iHeartMedia, our mission sponsor, for the year-long support. So thank you for that. And as we enter another year of uncertainty, I want to make sure that you can count on us to get through that journey from start to finish. And we hope that we can count on you to do the same because the reality is that we're all in this together. So to end it, I like to just say, you know, social distance, wear your mask, and stay safe. And hopefully this time next year, we'll be shaking hands in person. To you, Brian.
Thank you, Freddie. And thanks to the whole board of directors for the support that we've received as you have led us through a tough year. So this report to the community looks different than years past, but we can't have a report to the community without talking a little bit about the important programming and services at Family Services. You know, just as people are often surprised that we have 13 locations across Dutchess, Orange, and Ulster counties, some are surprised also to know that we have 20 different programs at Family Services, each serving children, adults, and families in unique ways. It's through innovative and effective programming and strong collaboration that we work every day to achieve our mission, to bring people together and to find the support they need, improving their lives and communities, and building a stronger, safer Hudson Valley. I'm going to take the next few minutes to share just how we work to achieve our mission throughout the agency in 2020. First, in behavioral health, Family Services ensures access for all adults to high-quality behavioral health centers in 8 locations throughout Dutchess and Ulster counties. Last year, our counseling and medical staff helped nearly 6,000 people find their way towards recovery without stigma. Our behavioral health center staff quickly converted to telehealth in March, first through phone sessions and then gradually moving toward Zoom sessions. Key behavioral health center sites continued to remain open for in-person services to meet the injection medication needs of our clients. Our clients had continuous access to support from day one of the pandemic. Remarkable. In the summer, we surveyed our clients to learn more about their experience with virtual visits. Over 900 clients responded, and the results were noteworthy. 89% of our clients felt connected with their provider through telehealth, and 77% feel as though they made progress, significant progress, on their treatment goals. 82% of the clients surveyed like having telehealth as an option, noting childcare, transportation, ease in scheduling, all as significant reasons. In fact, Family Services was highlighted in a white paper jointly developed by the New York State Council for Community Behavioral Health and other entities. This year, our behavioral health centers also received funds through Westchester Medical Center, transitioning promising programs to reduce emergency room visits, inpatient admissions, and readmissions. So this short 3-month pilot program connected 79 individuals to behavioral health treatment when they needed, and connected them with primary care and care management as well. Right now, we're underway in behavioral health with what we call the Facilities Transformation Grant. We are looking forward to relocating our Poughkeepsie-based services to a new facility in early 2022. That takes a lot of planning, a lot of preparation, but we're underway, and we're really excited because we see our new opportunity as being able to provide a modern, bright, and integrated care setting with other partners in medical care and elsewhere. In youth services, this was critical for us to meet the needs of the kids in 2020. And I have to say, we're at the forefront of providing youth with opportunities for engagement, in-person engagement. We couldn't have done it without partners in the community like the Dyson Foundation and the community foundations of the Hudson Valley and others as well. They assisted us with funding for us to provide services at the Family Partnership Center in lieu of the City of Poughkeepsie elementary school buildings, which were closed. So while the pandemic originally shut down programming in schools and tracked the Teen Resource Activity Center in May and June, we did transition to remote programming at first, including tutoring and Zoom connections for teens. And in July, we were able to reopen in-person programming, summer programs safely at the Family Partnership Center. Even during the height of our pandemic, the goal was to give youth a sense of belonging in a safe place where they can develop athletic, creative, academic, workforce, and social skills in a fun, supportive environment with the assistance and support of caring adult workers in youth services. Youth needed access to academic assistance, and they needed to be with their friends and engaged with their peers. And families needed this because access to child care was so difficult. Our After the Bell program for elementary school age kids program at the Family Partnership Center because we did not receive state funding as we normally would during the pandemic, but we were still committed to meeting the needs of families and the children. We provided full-day programming for 53 elementary school youth over the summer with plenty of outdoor activities and opportunities for creative arts. 55 teens participated in a basketball boot camp, coupled with gang prevention workshops over the summer at Tubman Park to offer plenty of room for safe, socially distant recreation and connection to their peers. This fall, After the Bell program and the Teen Resource Activity Center continued to meet every afternoon at the Family Partnership Center. Youth have worked on murals that hang at the Family Partnership Center, have shared their experiences and perspectives on racism through the Black Lives Matter quilt, and now have the opportunity to express themselves even more through enhancements in our media arts, through podcasting, and our new music program. All the while, the youth continue to have access to academic assistance to help close the achievement gap we have seen throughout the pandemic. In our family programs, we continue to provide critical support to stabilize families and ensure child safety and avoid recurrence of neglect or abuse. Our family education programs in Ulster and Orange counties are tailored to each individual family and include both group and in-home support. While programming has had to look different, eliminating some of the in-home support initially, staff were incredibly creative in meeting the needs of the kids and the families, including visits in local parks and even driveway visits that allow for the socially distant support that is necessary. Over 400 individuals received support through the family education program in 2020, and we are proud to note that in Orange County, 100% of the children served in the family education program were able to remain in the custody of their parents with the support of our family education program staff. Unfortunately, due to court closures, the Child Care Center and Family Court has remained closed. Staff have taken the opportunity during the pandemic to create curriculum that will enhance services to children and families utilizing family court when the program is allowed to reopen. In the area of prevention, at Family Services, we understand that in order to create a stronger, safer community, we need to work diligently to prevent many of the challenges facing our community. We are a regional leader in programming that increases individuals' awareness and coping skills to reduce sexual violence, gun violence, and substance abuse. At the Ulster Prevention Council, much of the work of that council is in a classroom setting, and the pandemic required that staff convert quickly in order to meet the needs of teachers, students, and the community. Staff recorded programming with the message of avoidance of substance use. And we use that opportunity for teachers to use when convenient to their remote schedules. The Ulster Prevention Council also partnered with Ulster organizations, including the National Guard, to offer virtual Narcan training. 250 Ulster County residents received training on how to help save a life of someone affected by opiates. Program staff delivered Narcan to every participant's home. At the end of 2020, UPC held its first TikTok prevention challenge to engage youth in creating original substance use prevention messages that were shared on social media. With classrooms shut down and remote learning, family services, sexual violence programming has been greatly impacted by the pandemic, but staff converted to provide remote or hybrid learning and programming with valued partners at the college and high school levels. We knew that we were making an impact still when we received the following feedback from a student. I cannot express the impact this course has made on myself, students, as well as victims and survivors. This course gave us the tools to know what, when, where, why, and how to do the right thing. Your ability to reach to students is truly inspiring, and you have reassured that working with sexual assault and domestic violence victims is the career pathway I want to pursue. So that's a real quote that we heard from someone who has experienced that work. In the area of community safety, Family Services works with individuals who have a history of gun-related violence, domestic violence, or aggression in relationships. In order to help them, that is our aim, to help them learn a healthier approach to the people in their lives and in the communities. Our programs look at how belief systems and how personal histories can lead to violence and give individuals the knowledge and skills to make the challenges of their lives that make our communities safer. In all, our community safety programs reached 1,000 individuals in 2020. SNUG, for instance. Despite the pandemic, SNUG has continued to build and maintain a strong presence in the city of Poughkeepsie. Early in the pandemic, outreach workers and participants had to stay connected only through FaceTime and other inventive ways that maintain safety. And we even held friendly competition to challenge each other virtually to maintain wellness through physical fitness. Sadly, our community did face several shootings in 2020. The SNUG team never wavered, however, in their commitment to the victims, family, and friends, as well as their involvement to prevent retaliatory shootings, a huge part of SNUG. The team held shooting responses over Zoom when we couldn't gather in person, and during the warmer months, responses were held in person but with social distancing in place. And in all, the team conducted 28 mediations of violence, which, if not addressed, could have potentially led to violent and even lethal situations. The domestic abuse awareness classes that we've conducted for years transitioned to work among groups in phone and Zoom sessions in order to continue our work with both men and women who act aggressively or use of violence as a means of settling differences. We made a significant change in DAC programming, that's domestic abuse awareness classes, shifting the curriculum to focus on moral recognition therapy for domestic violence, and an emerging practice developed and researched by the Correctional Council, and it's been shown to be effective in reducing abusive behavior. In victim services, our Center for Victim Safety and Support, the pandemic created a crisis within a crisis, as many victims were at home with those who hurt them the most, further isolating victims of domestic violence and sexual assault. This required our staff to be inventive in connecting with clients safely, knowing that in many cases, their abuser was at home with them. We provided 24/7 support to 2,500 victims of violence and other crimes, including an additional 3,600 hotline calls. Even though we weren't always able to be beside a victim in the hospital or as they were in court, Through Zoom, our victim-centered approach continued to support survivors' rights, dignity, healing, and perhaps above all, self-determination. In the midst of a challenging year when many organizations had to just cease operations, our victim services were able to actually launch 2 new program expansions, one being the Child Witness to Violence and services for victims of elder abuse. CVSS, the Center for Victim Safety and Support, partnered with local restaurants to deliver 10,000 flyers throughout the community as people picked up their meals to help our neighbors know that they're not alone during the pandemic. In October, Family Services held the 10th annual Walk a Mile in Her Shoes event, taking a stand against sexual and domestic violence, as well as distributing 1,000 purple light bulbs across Dutchess County to show support for victims of domestic violence. So certainly the pandemic has taken its toll on individuals, families, children, like we could not have imagined. And there's such a great connection between the impact of the pandemic and something that we have been looking at and working with over the years, and that is the adverse childhood experiences. There is a renowned pediatrician, Nadine Burke-Harris, who is featured on a clip that we're going to show you now. We actually saw this on PBS and got the permission for this to be shown here so that people can learn more about the impact of the pandemic and adverse childhood experiences on our children. So we're going to roll that right now.
We begin a new series this week looking at an underreported public health crisis in this country, childhood trauma. It affects millions of Americans. In our first piece from correspondent Kat Wise and producer Jaewon Cho, we lay out the problem and what's at stake. We are calling the series Invisible Scars, America's Childhood Trauma Crisis.
Make sure you clean up afterwards.
This hotel room in Oakland, California, has been home to Aisha James and her sons for 4 months. It's close quarters for 3 growing boys, ages 15, 13, and 12. But they'd rather be here than return to their apartment, where a drive-by shooting in August upended their lives. Jeremiah, the oldest, was hit in the leg.
That was your entry wound?
Oh, yeah, that's my entry wound.
Entry wound? Where's your
entry wound right here? And then it came out like up here.
Up here, yeah.
Malachi, the youngest, was grazed in the arm and hand.
I heard my youngest screaming and my oldest saying, "Mom, I've been shot." Seemed unreal, like this can't be happening.
Jeremiah now gets physical therapy twice a week. While the physical injuries are healing, the family's emotional wounds from the shooting are still with them.
There's some good days and there's some bad days. It's definitely a lot of PTSD going on.
Aisha's family story highlights a public health crisis in this country that's often overlooked. Those affected are at much greater risk for short-term and long-term health impacts. And amid a global pandemic, the problem is only getting worse. The issue? Childhood trauma. Everyone is impacted differently by life events, but when we talk about childhood trauma, which is a broad term, we're talking about experiences that take a lasting emotional and/or physical toll. And in the middle of a pandemic, kids today are increasingly vulnerable.
We're seeing increased rates of domestic violence, increased rates of substance use and abuse, increased rates of mental health concerns and mental health disorders. We also are seeing a dramatic reduction in reports of child maltreatment, which is not a good thing.
Dr. Nadine Burke-Harris is a pediatrician and California's first Surgeon General.
If we want to be preventing mental health concerns, if we want to be preventing substance dependence, if we want to be preventing cardiovascular disease and cancer, we see that adverse childhood experiences is a root cause for all of those things.
That understanding is largely the result of a landmark study by researchers from Kaiser Permanente and the CDC in the late 90s. They looked at 17,000 patients' histories of adverse childhood experiences, or ACEs, 10 potentially traumatic early life events, including physical, emotional, and sexual abuse, exposure to domestic violence, and divorce. Researchers correlated those ACEs with health issues in adulthood. The findings shook the world of medicine.
Having 4 or more adverse childhood experiences is associated with more than double the risk of ischemic heart disease, the #1 killer in the United States of America. 2.5 times the risk of stroke, triple the risk of chronic lung disease.
In fact, having 4 or more ACEs is associated with significantly increased risks for at least 5 out of the 10 leading causes of death in the U.S. But how exactly can adverse experiences cause these disparate health effects? The answer is in the science of stress.
When we experience something stressful, our body releases stress hormones. Prolonged activation of the biological stress response that can lead to long-term health problems, changes in the way the brain structure and function, changes in our immune system, our hormonal system, and even the way our DNA is read and transcribed.
In the heart, stress hormones can make things go haywire.
Those cause our hearts to beat stronger and faster. And so they actually exert more wear and tear on the lining of the inside of our arteries.
And that could show up 20, 30 years down the road.
Down the road as a heart attack or a stroke.
And in the brain?
We see MRI studies that show that for children who are exposed to high doses of adversity, there are structural and functional changes in their brains.
And the areas that could be affected are responsible for key
Join the meeting.
Processing fear, controlling impulses, as well as learning and remembering. All issues Aisha James says she's seen in her boys who experienced considerable trauma even before the shooting. Aisha took Malachi and Michael in when they were just 1 and 2.
My maternal cousin, while carrying both boys, was into, prostitution, drugs, alcohol.
Those early traumas and others had wide-ranging impacts on their daily life.
Abandonment, a separation anxiety, all became a major issue. Michael wasn't even talking. He was 2 going into his 3rd year of age, and it was just a very hard time.
And when faced with stressful situations, they struggled with how to respond.
I cried. Lots of crying. I did not know how to speak my emotions. So the only way I knew how was just from crying.
Later, the kids struggled in school, had behavior issues, and they dealt with physical health problems too, most notably severe asthma, which can be associated with trauma.
We ended up in the ER 2 and 3 times, every other month.
The James family's experience with trauma is unfortunately not unique. Just over 60% of adults in the U.S. have had at least one adverse childhood experience, and 15% have had 4 or more. Women and communities of color are at greater risk of experiencing significant trauma, but everyone can be impacted. In Marin, just north of San Francisco, Daedalus Hyde treats trauma in one of the most affluent counties in the country, but he's also spent years practicing in low-resource communities.
In my experience, these traumatic events in childhood are the memories that are most imbued with shame, and that makes it incredibly difficult to talk about these experiences, whether they have resources or not.
Hyde is also personally affected by trauma.
One of the more significant traumas of my life was my parents' divorce. They divorced when I was quite young. In the trauma world, we tend to consider divorce as one of the top 10 traumas.
Later in his adolescence, he experienced another trauma, a sexual assault by someone he trusted.
Undoubtedly, one of the things that contributes to a child or an individual being vulnerable is previous trauma. It did set up for me a need that the man who came into my life noticed, I believe, and took advantage of.
He says having conversations about trauma, as hard as it may be, is vital.
To people who haven't shared their stories yet, please try to do so. That is where so much healing can occur is in the telling of our stories.
This is treatable.
For Dr. Nadine Burke-Harris, that's the key takeaway.
What the science shows is that it's never too late to actually begin healing from the effects of early adversity. Number two, what the research shows that although it's never too late, early detection and early intervention dramatically improves outcomes.
With that in mind, late last year, California launched an initiative to train medical providers on how to screen for adverse childhood experiences. And those screenings are now covered under Medi-Cal, the state's Medicaid program. Aisha James and her family have benefited from the growing understanding of ACEs and their health impact.
I'm so glad to see you guys.
Her son's pediatrician is Dr. Dana Long at UCSF Benioff Children's Hospital in Oakland.
It is a piece of information that allows me to help guide and shape a treatment plan.
Join the meeting.
Understanding that this kid is experiencing a lot and it is traumatic and it's influencing them on a biologic level so that we can actually get to a place of healing.
And they're not just relying on traditional medical interventions. She and a team of colleagues connect families in need with resources like food, school interventions, and therapy. And they coach them on stress relief techniques like meditation and breathing.
We can't make the stress go away, but they are able to regulate the stress through techniques and tools.
Aisha has worked hard to incorporate these new tools into her family's day-to-day life.
It just opened all of us up to a different way of how to deal with things before just getting into them verbally, combatively, beating our head up against a brick wall, slamming doors.
And while life isn't perfect, things have gotten better. The boys' asthma is under control, they're having fewer issues in school, and they're also able to better manage their stress, which, in times like this, means everything. For the PBS NewsHour, I'm Kat Wise in the Bay Area.
Good afternoon, everyone. So lovely to see everyone over Zoom. My name is Leah Feldman, and I'm the Vice President for Community Programs at Family Services. Childhood trauma, adverse childhood experiences, or ACEs, as described in the video we just watched, are critically important to the work that we do at Family Services. We provide training for staff on ACEs. We participate in the ACEs task force run by our sister agency, Grace Smith House. In some programs, we utilize the ACEs questionnaire to collect data and inform our service plan with clients. Many of our clients across our programs have experienced or are currently experiencing trauma in their homes, in their communities, and in their environments. Domestic violence, community violence, poverty, racism, a pandemic. Research tells us that these childhood traumas, this toxic stress, has a dramatically detrimental effect on a person's lifelong mental and physical health. Those with high ACE scores suffer more diseases, greater levels of depression, alcoholism, and substance abuse. They die on average 20 years younger than those with no ACEs. What the research also tells us is that the negative consequences of ACEs can be counteracted with support, care, and appropriate intervention. The hope is that despite ACEs, children can still thrive. Resilience is the result of an individual.
Join the meeting.
Protective factors, which can include biological characteristics, but also the characteristics of the family, community, and systems that surround an individual. Family Services programming promotes those protective factors which build resilience and balances the impact of adversity on children. In our family programs, we promote parental resilience. We provide caregivers with the knowledge of positive, nurturing parenting skills. We help parents explore their own ACEs and how it impacts the way they parent. Dr. Vandelkerk, who authored the book, The Body Keeps the Score, says that child abuse and neglect is the single most preventative cause of mental illness, the single most common cause of drug, alcohol abuse, and a significant contributor to leading causes of death, such as diabetes, heart disease, cancer, stroke, and suicide. Parents in our programs receive the nurturing support and skills that they need to prevent instances of child abuse and neglect, to keep families together, and to help children balance the impact of adversity. In our prevention programs, we give youth an important skill set by raising awareness and coping skills to reduce violence and substance use. Youth learn how to resist involvement in gangs, how to say no to drugs, how to be an active bystander, and how to ask for help when they need it. In a recent survey of one of our programs, 84% of participants agreed or strongly agreed that the program helped them to actually learn to stop doing something that they knew they shouldn't do. This is a critical protective factor. Our Family Partnership Center provides concrete resources, support, and access to individuals and families. We help families meet their basic needs: food, clothing, healthcare, which are critical building blocks of resilience. A recent client stated, "For me, the Family Partnership Center means sticking together as a community, help with my needs, financial, mental, legal, and more, a great go-to support system where everyone is genuinely caring and not afraid to connect, a great advocacy team and support, hands-on and quick with resources. The Family Partnership Center works to build a community of resilience, a safety net of support for individuals and families." Our victim services and our community safety programs work hand in hand to make the community safer. We promote safer streets, safer homes, and safer communities through both micro and macro level work. We also promote healing for those children and adults who have experienced trauma or are currently experiencing trauma. In our behavioral health centers, many of our clients have experienced ACEs, and we support their ability to thrive despite that adversity. In our youth programs, we provide youth with mentorship and close relationships with caring adults. We give youth a sense of belonging in a safe space where they can develop their skills. A 2017 study about ACEs and resilience found that overall, having supportive friends, opportunities to engage with their community and people to look up to, and other sources of resilience in childhood more than halved the rates of illness in adults with 4 or more ACEs, from 29% to 14%. This past fall, we had a participant in our TRACK program, our Teen Resource Activity Center, who was constantly getting in trouble due to some challenges he had controlling his anger. After an incident with a peer during a game of basketball in the gym, one of our staff, Coach Luck, pulled him aside and asked him, "Why are you so angry all the time?" And he said, "I'm hungry, Coach. I'm mad because I don't get to eat all day, and my mother doesn't get home till late. The schools are closed, and that's where I'd usually eat." Hearing this, the TRACK staff immediately jumped into action. They walked down the hall to one of our partners, Dutchess Outreach, and they came up with a plan to set food aside for him in a backpack that he could pick up discreetly without anyone knowing on his way home. They also got him a winter coat, toiletries, and school supplies. With so many supports for youth being closed during the pandemic, I wonder what this teen would have done if we weren't here, if family services wasn't open. TRACK is a safe haven for so many youth, and some may say it's life-saving. This year, we've lost 3 City of Poughkeepsie youth to horrific and senseless acts of gun violence. After each tragedy, our youth services and SNUG staff have risen without hesitation to wrap their arms around the youth in the community as they grieve and mourn. This immediate support from caring adults actually neutralizes the physical changes that toxic stress has on the body and brains of youth, creating protective barriers against this stress. Through these positive relationships, children learn to develop crucial coping skills. They know that they're not alone, and they adopt healthy ways to process stress. Today, youth are exposed to violence at unprecedented levels through their homes, community, school, social media, and more. Youth today are also always connected through their phones, the computers. They have a constant barrage of toxicity streaming into their brains and their bodies. Today, youth are also being diagnosed with anxiety, depression, and other behavioral health issues. We know that there's a connection between this prolonged exposure to violence and the health of youth. Current ACEs measures rely on 10 categories, which are primarily adversities that occur within the family. However, studies have been done over recent years linking exposure to community violence to high usage of behavioral health services later in life, suggesting that witnessing community violence should be added as an ACE. Last year, we launched our Youth Witness to Violence program, which provides individual and group clinical support for youth and their caregivers. The program staff are also available to dispatch into the community during times of crisis, such as in the immediate aftermath of an act of violence. The program provides youth with the needed support to debrief and make sense of the adversities they're experiencing. Without this support, there's a greater likelihood that these stresses will become toxic and lead to poor health outcomes in the future. Please be sure to spread the word about this program far and wide in the community so we can work towards building a community of resilience, which our youth deserve. At Family Services, we are supporting the community in building protective factors, and through our work, we are tipping the scales in favor of more positive outcomes for the future. Just this year, in partnership with the City of Poughkeepsie Police through our program, we've commissioned a local artist to paint a mural in the track center which would depict a phoenix. We chose the phoenix because it represents transformation, strength, and renewal. To rise like a phoenix from the ashes means to emerge from adversity stronger, smarter, and more powerful. This mural will depict the adversities faced by youth, but also provide a message of hope and resilience as we rise together as a community. My sincerest gratitude to our staff, and thank you to all of you for your time and your support of Family Services.
Thank you, Leah. Thank you so much. It was so informative and powerful, and something that I think everybody can take with them to ponder and consider more the importance of the work that's being done at Family Services. You know, Leah mentioned the Family Partnership Center and all of the work that is done at the Family Partnership Center. The Family Partnership Center is a building. It's a 100,000 square foot building that's over 100 years old. It's more than a building, though. It is a wonderful collaboration involving a variety of important agencies in our community, such as Dutchess Outreach, Real Skills Network, Sun River Healthcare, Dutchess Community College, Mental Health America, Healthy Families of New York, the Boys and Girls Club of America, and many, many more. And it's these types of collaborations that are so important to our work at Family Services and also to the overall community. You know, the Family Partnership Center has been around since 1994. The building is a lot older than that, but it's been around since 1994, and it continues to be a catalyst for change and impact in the community. But I'll tell you, this building is needing certain work on it, okay? Capital improvements are needed in order to keep us going, to keep us sustainable. What immediately comes to mind is that the 70,000 people a year who take advantage of the Family Partnership Center can only take advantage if we have a roof over our head, a roof that does not leak, a roof that will keep us warm and dry. And so we're undertaking this spring, as a matter of fact, to put a new roof on the building, not an inexpensive proposition by any means. Furthermore, the front entryway, for those of you who have walked up, see that it's crumbling. It's actually not terribly accessible, and it's not a very welcoming signal to those who are coming here for programming or other services. And so we're replacing that. We have a grant from the Office of Housing and Community Renewal that will bring us a long ways toward that funding that is needed, but it's not enough. The Auditorium Windows, we have the biggest auditorium in all of the Dutchess County, and yet the windows in the auditorium are literally crumbling. They are deteriorating to the point well beyond repair. They need to be replaced. The sidewalks and pavement around the center are also in need of replacement because they present accessibility and problems to people who are trying to just safely walk along those sidewalks. And so we are calling upon the community to help us make these repairs, these improvements that will be taking place over the next year, 2 years. Beyond that, there are other capital improvements we are looking to make as well: asbestos abatement, renovation of bathrooms, and other necessary critical ways in which we can sustain the work of the Family Partnership Center and sustain all the work that our partner tenants are doing here for the community. And so we are looking to the community to help us there. And as a matter of fact, we're developing a powerful leadership team for essentially what will be a capital campaign, and you'll be hearing more about that in the future. We will be looking to the community and our partners, our donors, to help us along the way, and we have full confidence that that help, that support will be there. So we have less foot traffic throughout the building during the height of the pandemic. So that provided us with an opportunity to put some fresh paint and lighting throughout the building. Also during the summer, the newly renovated gymnasium was brightened even more with the addition of 32 murals created by local artist Frank Palea. The Mill Street Loft, which is now the Artifact, created by 100 local youth, local high school students. Again, more installation of art in the Family Partnership Center. These murals depict a series of careers, and the murals hung at the Poughkeepsie High School for a while, but then they were taken down. They were the largest public art mural in the Hudson Valley. It was fabulous to be able to rededicate them and have them touched up and restored. So as I said, we are concentrating on maintaining the well-being of the Family Partnership Center. We're committed to that. We will be doing that over the months to come.
Leave it down there.
And we want to make sure that the community is fully involved and knowledgeable about this so that we can continue our work. And every day, every year, that work changes. It transforms to meet the challenges of the day at hand. And for instance, most recently, we've been working with the Department of Behavioral and Community Health and Sun River Health to make sure that this will be a center where people can receive COVID vaccinations. This is just one of the ways in which we continue to be committed to serving the surrounding community in the best way possible, so as to not only prevent the traumas that Leah spoke of, but also to mitigate the impact of those traumas in a respectful, dignified environment, because as far as I'm concerned, and I think you know it, a respectful environment is such a powerful message to people receiving services, that they deserve the dignity, they deserve the respect of a beautified Family Partnership Center campus. So with that, I'm going to conclude. I'm sure I forgot stuff, but I can't remember everything, but I sure want to be open to any questions that people have so that we can entertain any concerns or inquiries that you may present.
So I want to encourage everyone to type their questions into the chat box, and I'm going to moderate that Q&A. So if folks have questions, feel free to put those in. And just a heads up, we realize that we are 5 minutes to closing. Zoom is going to stay open past 1 o'clock. So if anybody has additional questions and answers that they want to make sure that they ask before they get off of the Zoom this afternoon, we're going to remain on for as many as want to remain on with us. So I'm seeing here the first question. Please let us know how to make a donation. And thank you, Michelle, for that question. I'm going to take that one, actually. If folks want to navigate over to our website, that's the easiest way to make a donation. That is FamilyServicesNY.org. There at the top of our page, you'll actually see a Donate Now button. And when you click that, you'll be able to make a donation. So thank you, Michelle, for that. Loretta asks a question. Will any services be offered in the southern area of Dutchess? For example, in Wappingers? And Leah, I'm wondering if you can take a minute and just answer that question about what services we do have in southern Dutchess.
Sure, thanks, Whitney. Yes, we do have our services in our Center for Victim Safety and Support, and many of our other programs serve all of Dutchess. In terms of being able to meet clients where they're at, for our Center for Victim Safety and Support, we can certainly meet folks in areas that are in southern Dutchess. We have we have offices in the police department in the city of Beacon, but we know that that can be a barrier for some individuals, so we can certainly work to meet folks where they're at. I'm happy to share more information if you wanted to reach out to me.
I also want to make sure that people are aware that one of our behavioral health centers in Dutchess County is in fact right on Main Street in Beacon, and in order to make sure that people have walking access to a place where they can receive behavioral health services.
Yeah. Brian, just another question came in around vaccination at the Family Partnership Center, and wondering if you could take a second to just talk about that.
Sure. Well, this is a collaboration that has evolved between the Dutchess County Behavioral Health Center and Sun River Health. Sun River Health is formerly Hudson River Healthcare, and they will be collaborating to dispense vaccinations. And if anybody needs more information on that, they can go on to the website of sunriverhealth.org or sunriver.org, okay? Also, as we receive more information from the County Department of Behavioral and Community Health, we'll also be putting that out on social media.
Leah, I'm seeing a number of questions in the chat. Are services available to the Latino community, or are they available, in Spanish? I'm wondering if you could take a second to just chat about what services we do have available for those Spanish-speaking neighbors.
Absolutely. In the majority of our programs, we do have fantastic staff who are bilingual, and we have an effort to provide all of our materials in both English and Spanish. And we do utilize the services of the language line in many of our programs. So certainly happy to connect with individuals around specific services to hear more, but certainly not a barrier to receiving support through family services.
And as always, I want to encourage everyone on Zoom to take a look at our website. There you're going to find information about all of our services, all the different program areas that Brian and Leah referenced today. That'll help give you some additional information about the support that you can find in the community, as well as hotline numbers and ways you can get in touch with the program if you or a loved one need help. Brian, I know that I've had a question that came in. Getting through the pandemic requires a lot of partnerships, right? And we have certainly relied on our partners in this last year, particularly partners in government. Wondering if you could just talk a second about our partners and how they've helped us get through this tough year.
Well, certainly we consulted quite a bit with the Department of Behavioral and Community Health, because as we emerged from the original pretty much lockdown, we had to engage in planning around return to work site planning. And I know that the Department of Behavioral and Community Health provided us with a lot of guidance there. We've also received from the community, Rotary and DBCH and others, the Community Foundation, the Dyson Foundation, received specific grants having to address the pandemic and the PPEs and all of the other needs that we had to embrace in order to continue to have our services move on, as well as the services of all of the partner agencies here within the Family Partnership Center.
Right. Yeah, I certainly have been quite proud of how our community has come together, organizations, government, citizens, and helping everyone get through what has been really quite a tough year. So thank you, Michelle, who's saying that she needs to say goodbye, but just made a donation. So thank you for that. Appreciate that.
Thank you, Misha.
Yeah. So recognizing that it's 1 o'clock, just wanted to acknowledge that some of our guests need to leave for other appointments, but Zoom is going to remain open for anyone who does wish to remain with us and ask some more questions. I know we're incredibly grateful that, gosh, about 140 folks signed up to be with us today, and it's so wonderful to see your faces. And certainly keep those questions coming. And Brian was wondering if you wanted to just say a closing remark for those who do need to leave and aren't going to be remaining with us for more questions.
Well, like I said earlier, I sure wish we were all together around the lunch table as we have in the past. But nevertheless, it's really heartening to see everybody who maintains an interest and commitment to the work that we do. And as I look at all of the faces on this maze of a screen, it's just good to see everybody. And I just remain eternally grateful to our board, to our partners in government, the funding foundations that are with us all the way, and the individual donors as well. So many, many thanks. And thank you for helping us to continue the work that we all know this community needs.
Good. And for those who need to go, thank you. You can always find more information about our services on our website, including we had a great comment or question from Jeff, who's wondering how to get in touch with programs. So Jeff, if you're on, I will send you Leah's email because you asked about that specifically. But in general for folks, we do have a contact us form on our website. If you're looking for particular information about a specific program, when you go to that contact us form, you'll be able to reach out directly through that form to the program in which you're trying to inquire about. So that's the easiest way.
I don't think I sufficiently thanked all of our wonderful employees either, Whitney. I see many of them here on this meeting, and I'm so grateful to all of them for their continued commitment to all of our work.
Oh, and thank you for sharing additional information. Our partners in the community sharing through chat that they are adapting to the virtual world as well. So we all are in this together, transitioning our services to the manner in which our clients are available and needed the most. So thank you to our partners who are also on the call and sharing information.
I saw a note about closed captioning on Zoom. I wasn't aware of that, but that's something we will look into to see how we can make that available.
Yeah.
There's all sorts of tricks we don't quite yet know about Zoom, and we learn something every day.
Yeah. And speaking of being available, we hope that we'll be able to share this recording on a YouTube site where we'll be able to, if you have a friend or a colleague who wanted to see this presentation today and wasn't able to join, that we'll make that available. And very soon we're going to have our 2020 annual report available as well online. So we'll share that through social media, through email, and certainly an additional way to learn about the great work of Family Services and what's ahead this year. Thanking everyone for the wonderful comments, particularly the work that goes on at Family Services. And I know part of the reason there are still so many people on this screen is because we all love the work of Family Services and nobody wants to be the first to go, right? But we're still here. If folks have additional questions, I know quite a bit was presented when it comes to programming, when it comes to capital campaign and how we've made it through the year. There's no such thing as a silly question, and we are here to take all of your questions. Good. And I see Isis, yes. Looking forward to seeing you in person next year as well. I definitely miss the lunch that we usually have at the Poughkeepsie Grand, and very much looking forward to seeing everyone around the lunch table next year. But in the meantime, good news has come out from the governor's office about ways in which we can gather even a small crowd together, and starting in March, weddings or other catered events can actually celebrate with up to 150 people. So if folks have ever joined us with our Family of the Year event, you know that we usually have double that, but we're very excited that we're going to be able to honor the Ruge family and the Veith family this year at Family of the Year in person, safely, socially distanced, with about half the crowd, but we're working for a way for folks to engage virtually as well. So stay tuned for more information about that. But I hope that many people on this call will be able to join us. I love seeing you on Zoom, but I love it even more to see you in person. And I appreciate that everyone has remained on, but I don't see that I have missed any questions. Are there any more questions that folks want to ask? Just feel free to put them in the chat and we'll make sure that we get your answers to that. Okay. If you are someone who does not like to put their questions out publicly, it's okay too. Feel free to reach out. Certainly you have my email, because if you're on here, you got the Zoom link through me. And if you do have a question, feel free to email me and I will get back to you with an answer or point you in the direction of the right person in our organization to answer that question. We love connecting with our community and want to do that in any way that works for you. Okay. Oh, thank you. Kevin, I see you clapping there. Thanks for joining us. And thank you all for remaining with us and hanging on for a few extra minutes for question and answer. Brian, I think that wraps our 2021 virtual report to the community, and want to thank you and Leah for taking the time to present such wonderful information. And Freddie, thank you for stepping up in a big way to be our board chair for this year. We're so glad to have you in that role. And thank you all for being on and joining us today. It's been a great afternoon. Even though we're not eating chicken and salad together, it's still been nice to be with you around lunchtime. I hope that everybody has an incredible afternoon, and we hope very, very much to see you in person again soon.
Please be in touch.